This video was brought to you by PureVPN. Before we begin this, let me just start off by saying that, yes, I did enjoy that episode. Would I give it a 10? No. Last night, I still had my fanboy goggles on when I did my live reaction first impressions video, and I gave it a 9. That review score has since changed on the third viewing, which I just finished. And once again, just like the second to last episode of Season 7, the Beyond the Wall episode where they go and try to grab the white and the dragons come around and the Night King kills Viserion, just like that episode, this is going to be incredibly mixed. Because I actually did like the episode. I didn't like that ending, though, and there are other things I didn't like, but a majority of the episode was good. What I don't understand is how people can sit there and say the entire episode was awful just because they didn't like that Arya scene. I just don't understand, you guys. And I get it. You hate watch the show. It's like a hate fuck. You just gotta do it. But at the same time, though, you have to give props where props is due. It wasn't perfect. There were things that were wrong with it. But yeah, as it stands right now, for those of you just wondering what score I would give it, I'm really sitting pretty on a 7.5, maybe an 8. Mainly because the battle was good when I could see it, right? So, but let's get into my thoughts on the whole thing, and can't wait to see my like-dislike ratio. So let's talk about battle plans. Now, I'm not a medieval general. I don't know battle plans. I haven't read The Art of War, so I don't really know what tactic they should have taken here. But what I do know is that sending light cavalry to go into the unknown and just charge straight in there was really a bad idea on so many levels, even before they knew what they were up against. Not only that, though, but what the fuck happened to the House Bolton shields? Remember back in Season 6, during the Battle of the Bastards, when the House Bolton had those huge shields, and they would, like, have one guy holding it up, and then, like, another guy behind with the spear? Why wouldn't they just use those? Like, I understand, the House Bolton sigil is on it. Just repaint it like something else. Like, what happened to those shields? Why didn't anybody use that? Not to mention, why didn't they put up more fortifications around Winterfell to make sure that when the Army of the Dead did come, they would be, going into a narrow type of corridor, like kind of like 300. That's what I don't understand is why they didn't put more fortifications out there. But back to the Dothraki for a minute there. I feel like they're extinct at this point. And I gotta say, as much as I feel bad for the Dothraki, which I shouldn't, they're horrible people, I gotta say, I loved when they were charging in there and their weapons were on fire, and slowly but surely, as they were getting closer, which, by the way, shout out to, like, Ghost for being in the charge. According to the preview, I missed this, he does survive. Ghost does survive. But I love when they're charging, they all have their flaming swords, it like, the music picks up, it's like a great moment, we're like, yeah, they're gonna get in there. And for a split second, you see a white giant, and, like, their facial expressions change, and it's just a massacre on many levels. Once again, you're sending light cavalry when you really should have given them more heavy equipment. I felt like lances or spears in this situation would have been better, right? Because close combat with these whites are super risky. Because unlike zombies that just claw at you and try to overwhelm you, they do that, but they also swing weapons at you. At one point, you could see them, like, stabbing people and chopping heads off. So they're more dangerous than zombies, and they're fast as shit too. It's essentially World War Z zombies on steroids. I love that whole thing. And I have to say, even though I'm getting a little ahead of myself with Melisandre, I love how she's the one that comes in first, which is crazy once you think about it, because there's so many theories as how she was able to get there and not be attacked by the Army of the Dead, right? But I do love how they brought her in there just to light their weapons for that horror element 5 minutes later when they all charge in there and the lights slowly go out. I thought that was beautiful. I thought it was perfect. Once again, the White Walkers, they need that horror element to them, and I think it really worked here, especially the White Army. They needed that horror element there, and I thought that was perfect. Just charging in there, lights slowly going off, piece by piece, and just getting ripped apart. It was a massacre, and as well as it should have been. But once again, I still don't understand, like, why didn't they just give the Dothraki, like, better equipment? because on horseback, even on horseback, they're close combat fighters. And against the White Army, they really shouldn't have been. They really should have had, like, at least spears to charge in, then turn back around and do another charge. Because that's actually what they did in the Histories and Lore of Season 3 or 4 against the Unsullied. When the Dothraki came to invade one of the slaver cities, the slaver cities employed Unsullied to hold the line, and they did. So the Dothraki would come in and charge and just bash right into them. It wouldn't work, so they would, come back around and do it again and again and again. And that's what I thought they would do, but no, they just got slaughtered. And yeah, it was sick. I loved it. I loved that part. And like I said in my first impressions video, it was a slow retreat from the start. Even though they tried to stand their ground, they just couldn't. They kept getting pushed back every single time. It was a slow retreat from the very beginning. And people kept saying, well, they're in castles. And even on the podcast with Preston, he was saying, well, castles, is a nice multiplier if you're outnumbered. For every man on the battlements, that's like 50 outside. True for normal people, but these things can, once again, overwhelm everything. It doesn't matter. Fortifications mean nothing to something as they're piling on each other, trying to get across over the wall. That's not what a normal soldier would do. So normal battle tactics would mean nothing against the undead, because, once again, they could just overwhelm you, World War Z style. And yeah, like I said, after a while, as much as I love the whole fighting, I love battle scenes, you just kind of felt bad, because everybody was just getting slaughtered so damn quickly. There were moments here and there, though. I gotta give Dave and Dan praise for this, because I did see the behind the scenes for this episode, which I rarely do. And they were right. If it was just battle, it would have been too boring. There needs to be moments where we're thinking that, yeah, they can do it, they can push back. And they did this fantastically with the Dothraki charge, and then later when Melisandre comes back and, all that stuff. And even when the dragons jump in. Now, when the dragons jump into the fray and they start to change the tide of battle, once again, you're like, yes, they can win, they can do this. And then the whirlwind comes, that White Walker whirlwind thing that they do. I gotta say, if there's one thing consistent about the White Walkers, is that they learn. They learn damn well not to go in there, because the White Walker generals, they stayed back and let the army of the dead do the whole thing, because they saw Jon Snow killing them at the Battle of Hardhome with the sword. So it's almost like they know which people of interest to avoid and not take on in a straight fight, because later on we see this exact same thing happen when Jon Snow is charging at the Night King, and instead of taking him on, like head on in a one-on-one fight, he raises the dead from around Jon Snow. He's not, I like how the Night King here is not stupid. He's not cocky. He's not overconfident. He's confident in his abilities, and he uses them. This is good. The Night King here using this, ability just to, make sure people that have Valyrian steel can't get to him. Fantastic. I love that. But overall, I did like the battle stuff. The battle stuff was fantastic. I couldn't have asked for, better stuff. What did kind of annoy me, though, and I'm just going to put this out there right now, and I'm sure it annoyed a lot of other people as well, because I'm glossing over a couple of things, but once again, most of the episode was battle. I love how, when everything is said and done, the people who rise up and we see that are alive are a majority of our main characters. Podrick, Brienne, Jaime. Grey Worm, I'm surprised he survived at all, because Grey Worm gave that retirement speech with Melisandre last episode, and by the laws of, by cinematic laws, once you give your retirement speech, or it's known that you're going to go into retirement after this fight, you don't survive it. That's just how it is. It's cliche, I know, but at the same time, Game of Thrones is a little bit cliche now. It's a little Hollywood, let's be clear. But, no, I'm surprised. Even in the preview I said this, I'm surprised there's anybody left alive towards the end of it all. But the battle stuff was fantastic, especially when they're retreating and they have to, man the walls and they have to fight back. Even Sam did something, and he's not a fighter, but he was in through the thick of it. Rest in peace to Ed. I love Ed. He was a great character, but quite frankly, the cast was a bit too crowded, so rest in peace, Ed. Now let's talk about individual characters. The Hound and Beric were great. They had some cool moments, especially when the Hound has all but given up and sees Arya and decides to jump in there anyway to help her. Beric, on the other hand, dies his final death protecting her. I don't know how I feel about him going out this way, but if you think about it, the character really was a part of the Lord of Light duo between him and Thoros, and without him, Beric wasn't as great as he could have been. You really do need both of them to complete that set. Though I don't understand why Melisandre couldn't have just resurrected him, since she's done it before and can do it now. Maybe she was all, like, powered out, but still, I guess it's best to, just let him go. Lyanna Mormont, I was a fan when she first came on in Season 6, but since then she has not continued to grow on me. When she takes out the White Giant, I just rolled my eyes as hard as I could. I don't know, to me it was just very silly that she yells like that and stabs it in the eye, and it's like a whole, I just found it very silly and super lame. I'm sure a lot of drunken people at a bar somewhere watching this probably thought it was badass as fuck and just cheering, but watching that scene 2 more times, it really felt kind of lame. Like they did it as a service to the actress who they said in the behind the scenes episode they really liked in the role, so take from that what you will. And Tormund, Grey Worm, and Gendry, all 3 apparently have insane plot armor now, like Jon Snow level plot armor, especially Tormund, who is out of his mind, and I love it. He is the tank of the party. If Jon Snow is the warrior, Theon the archer, Arya the assassin, and Mel is the mage, then Tormund is the beefy tank you build up to take all that punishment. This guy has survived more intense battles than almost any other character so far, with the exception of Jon. He really needs his own lands and titles after this fight, because god damn, he's a beast. Gendry and Grey Worm surviving, like that, I was expecting them both to bite the dust. Especially Grey Worm after that retirement speech, but I'm glad they survived. Gendry is the last Baratheon, and quite frankly, we need Davos to take him to Storm's End, because I want to see that fucking castle. Now, 2 characters I thought didn't have that much screen time, but I'm okay with it, was Jaime and Brienne. They showed just enough to hold off the attack and help each other out. Though I do think it's very ridiculous that at the very end they held out so long to be pushed up against the wall and not being stabbed to death. That's crazy good luck and plot armor. But there were a few times I thought Brienne died because those screams coming from her are like the screams of someone being stabbed to death. So props to the actress for that good acting, because at various points I thought Jaime and Brienne both died, but no, they were helping each other out. It was super cool. I like that. We didn't see that much of them, but at the same time, I don't think we needed to see that much of them, so this is good. And once again, I have to say, I hate that this episode was in the dark, because I actually wanted to watch the dragons fighting each other. This is one of the highlights for me of this entire season, watching Viserion take on Drogon and Rhaegal. And when I could see it all, beneath all the darkness and, quick jump cuts in the editing, I actually did enjoy what I was seeing, when I could see it. This is what I really wanted the prequel to focus on, the Targaryens' civil war and internal conflicts via the Fire and Blood stuff, because we get plenty of more of this stuff, but at the same time, I understand that the budget is special for this season in specific, so what are you gonna do? But the dragon stuff was awesome, as always, but I really wish I could have seen more of them fighting in the fucking daytime. But speaking of dragons and Targaryens, as for Jon and Dany, I'll be honest, I was expecting a Jon versus Night King showdown. I'm slightly disappointed we didn't get that, but Jon did do enough to keep me satisfied with his character for the battle. He rode a dragon, did some fighting with the Night King on his dragon, charged in there against the Night King, held off some whites, and even tried his best to get to the Godswood to help Bran. That part was frustrating as all hell, but in a good way. I was expecting him to get in there and, challenge the Night King into a one-on-one, right in front of Bran, but that didn't happen, and that's good, because Game of Thrones is amazing, but we're not expecting what's about to happen, you know what I'm saying? The fact that we didn't get that 1v1 versus Jon and Night King is good, but we'll get to that in a minute. As for Dany, she did some good stuff too. It was very dumb of her to land with Drogon when she did, but getting knocked off, she stood her ground with Jorah. I gotta give her props for fighting back with him, so she didn't just sit back and do nothing. She actually got in the thick of it at one point, so I gotta give her props for that. On the topic of Jorah, I don't have much to say about it besides that this was a character that I'm so glad got an ending this way, because Jorah has been the butt of many jokes in the Thrones fandom about being the Lord of the Friend Zone and all this stuff, but when it came down to it, he really did step up and he really did protect her. He really stuck to the whole thing. He had a redemption arc somewhat after, being exiled from Westeros and all that stuff, and agreeing to King Robert's plan of having Dany killed and all that stuff. He's been redeeming himself for a long time now, but if he had to go, I'm glad this is how he went out, protecting her in that way, and I'm glad that she grieved over him the way she did. So it was a beautiful ending for Sir Jorah Mormont of Bear Island. In fact, with Jorah dead and Lyanna dead, House Mormont is now officially extinct. This is the third house, I believe, confirmed in the north to be extinct. The first being House Bolton, then House Umber, and I think Alice Karstark went with Theon as part of the archery team in the Godswood, so she might be dead too. So, fourth house to be extinct. Bolton, Umber, Karstark, and now Mormont. And let's talk about the Night King for a second. I spoke about him earlier, and I gotta say it again. I love the character of the Night King. A perfect villain all around. And I do love the cliche Hollywood thing. I gotta admit, I love it that Dave and Dan employed with him, where they have a plan to take out the Night King. Does Dragonfire work against him? I don't know. No one's ever tried. Tried it this time. Didn't work. That fucking smirk. That douchey asshole. I hate the Night King, but it's a love-hate. Trust me, I love to hate him. Perfect villain for this type of episode, and I'm so glad he didn't utter a single word, because quite frankly, that would have diminished his role as a villain. It's more threatening and menacing that he's just a silent antagonist, and he filled that role perfectly. And quite frankly, the guy was brutal. He wasn't stupid either, so he's not a cocky villain like Ramsay was. Like I said before, he didn't take Jon on because he saw that Jon can kill White Walkers with his sword, and he doesn't want to take the chance because he knows he's the control ship that controls everybody else. He doesn't want to take the chance to take on Jon in a straight one-on-one fight. He doesn't want to take that chance. It's not that he's not confident in his abilities, but he would rather play it safe, especially in the endgame, and he played it safe. But yeah, the Night King came with a plan. He summoned the Whirlwind in there to make sure the dragons didn't have it easy. And quite frankly, I thought he was a great villain for this episode. He was fantastic. One of the best characters for this episode, hands down. But the MVP of the night, at first, went to Melisandre when she came in and lit up the entire battlefield for us. Thank you, Mel. You were the best pile of bones the entire episode. But then it quickly evolved into Theon being the MVP. Theon was amazing this episode, and I felt his death hit me the hardest out of everybody else. And he's not even in my top 5 favorite characters. His redemption arc was not something I cared too much about, but the way it ended, I don't know, it was very beautiful and very somber too. The music had a lot to do with it. Hell, the music was fantastic throughout the entire episode, especially as the Night King kills Theon and walks towards Bran while everybody seems to be on their last legs. Down in the crypts, however, things did get dicey, and at one point, as the dead started popping up, I thought Sansa and Tyrion were gonna commit suicide together. It was looking really rough for everybody involved. But then, let's get to that scene and the source for all the dislikes I'm about to get this video, because for some reason Arya is probably the most popular character since Jesus. Arya killing the Night King has got to be one of the dumbest things in the show I've ever seen, and that the show has ever done. Even more dumb than scuba zombies, and yes, even more dumb than Euron Season 6. I just don't get how anyone could think that was cool, especially considering how her character has been destroyed for the past season. I just don't understand. Don't get me wrong, Arya throughout this episode was fantastic. Don't get me wrong on that. I'm not hating on the character. I'm just hating on how the Night King went out. She goes from fighting off the dead in a very cool way with a staff of hers, then gets overwhelmed and has to go from action to stealth with her, which was awesome. I loved it. The whole stealthy part, Assassin's Creed, I'm always a fan. Then it goes downhill really quickly. As soon as I heard Melisandre telling her she'll take colors of all people's eyes, brown, green, and blue, I just sat there going, oh no, they're gonna make Arya the one, aren't they? And they did, and it was so lame. It was so stupid. Ugh. Oh my god. You know what would have been better? If Theon killed the Night King. Yeah. How about that? So the whole thing that everybody's kind of annoyed at with Arya was that the prince that was promised prophecy was, this is the person that's gonna, destroy the Night King and, bring back the light and end the darkness and, destroy the Death Star and throw the ring into Mordor. All that prophecy shit. Everybody thought it was gonna be Jon or Dany, of course, the usual suspects. Nobody expected it to be Arya, and we don't even know if Arya is this prophecy thing at all. But what would have been better if it was Theon, because technically Theon was born amidst salt and smoke. Maybe not smoke, but he was born in the Iron Islands, and he constantly says, as the Ironborn always do, my blood is iron, is salt and iron. What else? Season 2, Episode 8, the Prince of Winterfell refers to Theon being the Prince of Winterfell when he takes it over in the name of the Greyjoys. Theon would have been like that Trojan horse, that underdog, to be the person of legend, to really end the long night and bring light back into the world or some dumb shit like that. And in a sense, he has been kind of reborn. When Ramsay captures him and just tortures him, he's essentially a walking corpse with how Ramsay just did all those cruel things to him. And Sansa, his Nisa, I guess you could say, his love that brought him back, Sansa being tortured like that really made him come back alive and just get in there and try to, better himself. Kind of a rebirth, if you will. Theon would have been a great prophecy for the prince that was promised. And no, it was Arya. Meh. Honestly, that's all I could say. Meh. Was not a fan. Out of all the things this episode I really disliked, the Lyanna stuff, which in comparison is kind of really low on my list, not being able to see anything, some of the awful editing, and because there were, a lot of it was jump cuts, let's be clear, and the Arya stuff, I don't know, they really missed an opportunity here with Theon. And last but not least, let's talk about Melisandre. I don't understand why she had to die in the end, and I really almost don't care. She was great in the beginning, lighting up the Dothraki weapons, and then lighting up the trenches, great. But then she just died right at the end. Davos comes out of nowhere, which, by the way, I have no idea what he was doing the entire time. He had blood on him, but I want to argue that he was just lying low the entire time, and when the battle was done, he just grabbed, he just put his hands in some corpses and smeared blood on him to make it look like he was doing stuff. But no, Melisandre just goes and just dies. This is going to be a topic of discussion later on in other videos that I'll do, but that was weird. Ending the episode like that, I don't know, that was a little weird. That was a weird ending for me. And before we close this video, I want to give a big thank you to today's sponsor, PureVPN. Privacy online is a huge thing for me, and a VPN is a must. But there are so many of them out there, you really don't know which one to get. Well, PureVPN has got you covered with thousands of servers worldwide to help you overcome any restriction, 24/7 customer support, and they even accept cryptocurrency if you truly want to stay anonymous. And for some of my foreign viewers, this is the service you should really consider getting. I've been overseas before, wanting to check up on my favorite shows, and was blocked from doing so, and a VPN definitely helps with that. It's only $3 a month, but you can try it free for 30 days. Don't like it? Don't worry about it. Definitely check them out. I'll leave a link in the description below. But overall, I did like the episode. I thought the things that we did get that were good. The battle scenes, when I could see them, was fantastic. The brutality of Thrones that Thrones normally has was turned up to an 11 this time around. The music was fresh. Most of the characters did not disappoint. We got dragon fighting, White Walker madness, and quite frankly, it was all around a fairly good episode, but it wasn't the best episode I was hoping for, and then I was hoping it could be. I think that's a lot of people's problems here, that the last two episodes, the first two of the season, have been great, and this episode was not as awesome as it could be. I made the analogy of it being like that time when you're really trying to just have the best orgasm, but then something comes and it ruins it, and you still just want to get it out, but it's not going to be as great as it was going to be like a minute ago, and it's still something, though. That's the best way I could put it. The bad lighting, bad ending to a major threat, and ridiculous plot armor, all that aside, I would still say the episode gets a 7.5 for me. I know a lot of you guys will dislike the video because I didn't give it a 0 or a 1, and I'm sure a lot of you guys will agree with me, but give me a dislike anyway because you loved Arya, but that's where I gotta stand. The episode wasn't bad, I just wish I could have seen it a bit better. Hell, I'd be willing to be okay with most of the dumb decisions this episode if I could fucking see them. How about that? But definitely let me know what you guys thought of the episode. Leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like button and subscribe button if you haven't already. Also, be sure to hit that bell button to stay notified of all future videos. You may disagree with me on this review, but you might agree with me on some future ones. And be sure to follow me on Twitter, where I live tweet all the episodes, and Instagram, where, I post memes or whatever. And, all that good stuff, social media, blah, blah, blah. Links below in the description. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Baba Booey.